I really need a haircut. Ugh. But I've no time, so that's gonna have to wait. Today we are mowing my second cut silage. And yes, this morning we did get some heavy showers of rain. Everything is absolutely soaking, but it actually wasn't as bad as it might look. The soil under this hedge, for example, is still bone dry. So the plan remains as is. We are mowing 125 acres today. I had planned to start mowing around 10 o'clock because I have a lot to mow, but that's not going to happen now. I'm probably going to have to wait till around lunchtime. So I'm going to make a few phone calls this morning, get some extra people to come and help me mow it, and try and get everything mowed over the course of about 5 hours this afternoon. Before we head to mow, we also have to fix the mower this morning. I hit a big concrete pipe, I actually have a video of it here, and wrecked like 3 or 4 blades. I didn't think I'd done any damage until I hosed it all down and washed it yesterday, and there's quite a few bent blades which have been digging into the mower bed, so I need to get them changed before I go and mow all day today. Cows are in the reseed today. When was this done? It could nearly be 2 months ago now. There's quite a good cover of grass, although at the edges here it's very yellow. It doesn't look like it's good at all. That is just too little nitrogen, and I need to be more careful when I'm sowing the fertiliser, that I really give the edges a good dose. Right, we have a lot to do this morning. Top of the list, fix the mower. It's now 9 o'clock on Tuesday morning and we have to get these blades fixed from the incident. So this is the worst part, and it done all this damage from just mowing like 3 or 4 acres. And you can see that these blades have been bent. So that one definitely needs changed. The other side also needs changed, and potentially these two as well. Although this might have happened at a previous date, I'm not sure. After I get these changed, I will take you through my plan for today, my plan for the silage, and why I am going to go and mow wet grass. I'm nearly out of battery. Yes. Flip. Alright, I need to go get a new battery. Okay, we're back. Have I lined that up right? There we go, much better. Right, that end blade is also bent, so I need to change it. But let's do this one first of all. I'm gonna have a lot of blades to change here. I'm going to be short of blades as well. Oh my goodness. Right. And we have another bent blade on this side. Oh my goodness, I've bent so many blades. And another bent blade. Flippin' heck. This is what happens when you hit a pipe. It does so much damage. Oh. Okay, so that's them. I'll change this one. Is also bent. Yep. Another one to change. Right, that's another job done. Let's get these mowers greased and ready to go. Final bit of prep before I go get something to eat and then head off and mow is to grease the mowers, grease the JCB, and I'm also going to grease the harvester and get the blade sharpened as well, so that if I'm mowing until like 7 or 8 o'clock this evening, when I come back to the farm I just have to hook the mowers off, hook the compactor onto the Puma, and everything else is ready to go. So instead of mowing early this morning and doing all this stuff this evening, I'm now going to do all this stuff this morning and mow later this evening, because the rain has kind of ruined my plans, but it is drying up. You can even see a little bit of blue. It's going to be a good idea to mow. I'm confident it's going to be dry silage. Got myself a new end for my grease gun as well off eBay. It was like £6, pretty good. It's actually not pretty good, it's actually worse. It is actually worse. The one I had on it was better. Okay, it's handy for staying on, but it's just harder to get on. And it just fell off. Where did I leave the old one? The service guide for this JCB says that you don't have to grease these bearings for 500 hours. You'll forgive me if I don't trust that. To be fair to JCB, they make this machine extremely easy to grease. All the grease points are like eye level, no awkward ones. Very good design. And the JF has like a grease block thing, but with pipes going everywhere, kind of like an auto greaser. And I just don't trust it. I honestly prefer the manual grease points that you know is actually getting grease. Oh, this grease end sucks. Okay, I've got like 2 more to do. I'm done. Oh no, 4 more to do. I forgot about these ones. This thing sucks. It sucks so much. Why did someone tell me to buy this? Mark Fitton, you're an idiot. That's the JCB done. I've also greased the mowers. There was one of the very important grease nipples in the mower I couldn't get because of the new grease nipple thing. So I am gonna have to find the old one or buy another one because that is a heap of junk. I'm gonna start the mowers up, check everything's working, and then leave them here ready to go. I think I filled the tractor with diesel already. I'll have to check that. In fact, I haven't. Have to fill the tractor with diesel. Then we're gonna go and check the weather and see if this is still a good idea. I'm 99% sure we're still going to mow in silage today. I don't think I'm going to change our mind, but we'll go check the weather, look at like the weekend next week, just to confirm that we are making the smart choice and we're not making a stupid choice. Because you always need to be flexible and willing to change your plans in case the forecast changes last minute. So let's go do that. We will do our weather check while I'm filling with diesel. So we're going to use weather radar. We're not going to listen to just the little images on the screen. If we were listening to the images on the screen, sunshine all day tomorrow is pretty good. But we need to know about today. So on the little images, it gives sunshine between 4 and 6, sunshine all evening. It looks like a great day. But let's check the actual weather radar, because that is the important one. Okay, so currently 10 AM, a few showers about. It does look like it's about to rain, but let's see how that progresses throughout the day. So by 2 PM, it's basically clear skies. But we also want cloud cover, so let's turn cloud cover on. See if it's actually going to be sunny, because it kind of needs sun to dry the grass. Especially if it's going to be mowed wet this morning, some of it. My days, my internet is so bad. How do we live in a country where I can't even get 4G? Like, oh. Right, 2 PM, lots of sunshine. That's what I want to see. And if we fast forward even further in the day, until like 5 or 6 o'clock, we also have sunshine. If we go even further and come into tomorrow, it's actually cloudier than the little images would have you believe, but pretty much blue skies all morning, a little bit of a haze coming in the afternoon. Now the final thing we want to check is the pressure coming for next week, in case mowing today and lifting tomorrow whenever it's not perfect conditions is actually a bad idea, because the weather next week is better. But I don't think that's going to happen. That's what my dad says. Let's find out. Long forecast with pressure. Zoom out. So we have high pressure for the next 2 days, and it's kind of just the tail end of high pressure. And then there is a low pressure over the Atlantic, which is going to move in on Thursday and Friday and Saturday. So if we fast forward until the very start of next week, let's see what the pressure looks like then. Anytime at all. I'm not asking for you to download a HD video, I'm asking you to get me a weather forecast. It cannot be that difficult. Right, I'll let this load. My diesel tank's nearly full. It hasn't loaded. Oh, right, I'll drive down to the other end of the farm. I actually went to fill this tractor yesterday when I hooked the mowers on, and I realised then that I'd ran out of diesel. And it is not a good feeling to realise you've ran out of diesel the day before you go to do silage. But thankfully, I phoned a brilliant local supplier, Scott's Fuels, and they not only are a very good price, but they also delivered it like 3 hours after I ordered it. So thank you very much. It definitely helped me out, and they have no idea who I am, by the way. So that is just a genuine thank you for getting me diesel when I keep running out all the time. Surely we have a weather forecast. We do. So on Monday next week, there is a high pressure system moving in, which means it's probably going to be pretty dry. However, it's not a massive high pressure system, and it could very easily turn into showers, but warm. So we are still mowing. The plan stays as is, because at the minute I know that we've now got 2 dry days, and it's also dry on Thursday morning. Whereas if I leave it to next week, I am hoping that I get a few dry days. So it's the obvious choice. Go now when you know it's actually going to be dry. Do not wait and hope on a forecast. Right, I have some other jobs to do this morning. It is currently 5 to 10. I'm probably going to go and start mowing around 11, maybe 11:30. So I'll mow a couple of fields and then I'll turn the camera on when everything's going well and the sun comes out, and I will speak to you all then. So I've got good and bad news. Well, good and bad news for me. The good news is that there's a really nice breeze, the grass has dried out really well, and it's definitely going to be dry enough silage, so we're probably looking at something like 24 to 30% dry matter, so that's the good news. The bad news is the wet spots of the fields are still wet, and it's exactly the same story as after the first cut, which is 95% of the fields are fine, but there's 5% that are still really, really wet, and it surprised me. I didn't expect the fields just to be as wet as they are. So what that means for tomorrow when we're lifting is I need to be careful. I need to not take full trailers anywhere stupid. I need to be willing to do small loads, and I probably need to bring a chain with me. There is another bit of bad news, but it's not really bad news. It's more just unfortunate circumstances, and that is that the yields are going to be pretty poor. Fields like this, which is a reseeded field, are fine. They're acceptable. They're not great, but they're definitely okay. But any old lays, fields which are wet, fields which just need reseeding, their yield is really, really bad. And obviously I had to cut them. Our second cut is always light. Usually we sit at like 2 trailers an acre, but even for me, a few of these fields are very, very light. I'll spin the camera around, let you see what I'm actually cutting, and then we'll have a chat about, is there going to be a forage shortage in 2024-25? So this field was reseeded 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, and it's done really, really well ever since. You wouldn't think it, but this used to be one of our wettest fields, and it wasn't drained, it was just reseeded, and that was all it needed. There is still a wet spot at the top along the hedge, but for the most part it's a really nice dry field now, and it yields really well. And I have screwed up this GPS line. I'm just going to leave a little sliver to mow at the end. Oh great. That will make some very nice silage. It does look like it's ran out of nitrogen. You can see the little yellow tips on the end of the leaves. So if I hadn't mowed this, I don't actually think it would have done much more growing either. Again, kind of reinforcing my decision. I will also add that I've set my cutting height quite high, like I always do. So we're leaving a really nice green residue on the fields. And like we seen earlier when we looked at the forecast, there is warmer weather coming next week. might not be dry, but it's definitely going to be warmer. And if we can get this all cut off, get nitrogen back on, get a little bit of rain over the weekend to wash that nitrogen in, and then we get hot, sticky weather for a few weeks, this grass will just rebound so fast. And whatever yield we've lost by cutting 5 weeks after first cut now, we should make up in our third cut. That's the theory anyway. I really hope that happens because I am getting increasingly worried that I am going to be short of silage in 2024-25. So let's spend a minute and chat about what I'm planning to do to try and avoid that happening. Well, the first thing and the most direct thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use more fertilizer. So the silage fields, they won't really see an increase in their nitrogen, but the grazing paddocks, the little fields which are often neglected and never really get that much fertilizer, I am going to up the rate, put more on them, try and keep the heifers and the bull calves grazing on less acres so that I can pull a few of them paddock fields in and get them cut for silage and into the pit. The next big change to my plans is that I am not going to reseed any more fields until the end of the year. So if it had been a normal year and grass growth had been where it should have been, I probably would have been taking out another 10 acres or so to reseed out of my silage block, and there is another 15 acres of my grazing block which I'd really love to get reseeded, but that's just not going to happen now. I am going to prioritize having grass in my pit, which means no more reseeding. We might revisit this in September whenever I know for a fact how much grass I'm going to have in my silage pits. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to dry cows off. So we have really been pushing milk yield, or rather milk sold, not milk yield, over the last month, selling more milk than we ever have before. I might get a wee graph and stick it up here. If I haven't time, there'll be nothing there. But we've been pushing milk yield, and that's had a cost. And the cost, whenever there hasn't been the grass growth on our grazing block, has been that we are feeding silage. So we had a bay and a half, which is about 300 tonne of surplus silage left over after the cows went out to grass. And we've basically used all of that, but we have converted that into milk. The milk price is pretty good, the meal price is pretty low. I think it makes sense to do that, but we need to stop doing that now. So I'm going to dry off cows early, probably get 20 dried off next week, get the numbers back down to closer to where they should be. And the idea there is that I can graze my cows day and night on the grazing platform and not have to feed too much of my first cut silage over the next 2 or 3 months. I've left a bit of the field. Frick! Me chatting about running short of silage and leaving a bit of a field not mowed. I am an idiot. This is not paying attention. It'll not take long to mow. I'm just glad I seen it when I did. Right, start the front mower. Do not start the back mower. It is folded up. Front mower, front mower. Front mower started. Right. How did I miss this? Someone was watching me, they're going to think that guy is an idiot. And they are correct. See what I mean about how green the fields are? They're going to come back so quickly. Back to what I was saying, what else am I going to do to try and mitigate the impacts of being short of silage in 2024-25? Well, I'm also planning to fix my meal price. I was meant to do it this week, but I'll probably get to it next week. And I'm going to fix it for as long as I can at a fixed price. And apparently none of the mills are that keen to fix it past the end of December 2024. So I'm going to lock in my meal price until December 2024, because if the whole country is short of silage, like I think it might be, then there's going to be an increased demand for meal, the price is going to go up, I don't want to have to pay that price, so I'm going to lock in my price now. That's a gamble, but I think it'll pay off. And the very last thing we're doing is we're selling more calves. So we're going to have less stock on the farm, less mouths to feed, so the silage should last longer. We're essentially trying to protect the milking herd, protect our ability to sell milk down the lane, and we're going to have less young stock, less heifers, less bulls coming through. And I know these decisions seem pretty extreme, and they kind of are, but there is nothing worse, there is nothing more expensive than being short of silage. Especially if you're short of silage in a year when everyone else is short of silage. And that is a situation which I think could actually happen. If you look at the grass check report, you'll see that grass growth dropped off a cliff for the last few weeks. It has been really, really cold. Grass hasn't moved. At the time of year whenever grass growth should be best, it has been terrible. So that's going to have an impact. What impact? I'm not really sure, but I'm not taking any risks. I'm going to try and insulate myself from the effects of a further bad year whenever everyone is going to be short of silage. Right, I have to open these 2 gates. We'll start mowing the last field, and that will do it for this video. It's even freezing cold today. This is exactly the problem. It is just too cold for grass to grow. Really nice crop in any bit of the field which wasn't destroyed at the end of last year. I think I can risk it. I think I can mow the headland and talk to the camera at the same time. Hopefully this doesn't end badly for me. Okay, there's a wet spot coming up. I probably should wait till after it. So if you go back to September, you can watch my very first YouTube video, which was lifting the 5th cut silage off these next 3 fields. And the damage caused by lifting that silage has surprised even me. It has really, really hurt these fields, and I think a large part of that is because Italian ryegrass really, really, really hates compaction. And wherever it was compacted, the Italian ryegrass has really suffered, and in some parts it has suffered so much that it has actually died out. So I'm now left with a field of massive variation and really patchy growth. Top end of this field that we're coming up to now, there is next to nothing. There's very little grass. It just looks awful. But the bottom of the field, where you've seen me mowing, really good grass, a really decent crop. Bear in mind, that's 5 weeks growth. Like, that's really, really good. And I'm not really sure how I fix it, because like I said, I'm not reseeding it. I can't afford to reseed it. I'm just going to have to put up with it. But if I go in and stitch it in, I have to spray off the grass, which again is going to hold me up anyway, so I might as well just plough it and reseed it. So I'm kind of in this position where I hope it'll just fix itself. But for the compaction to fix itself, I need some dry weather. I need 2 or 3 weeks of really hot, warm weather to crack the ground, to fix the compaction, and to allow the Italian ryegrass to recover and to grow properly again. But that just hasn't happened yet. So I'm left with a pretty annoying field of grass. But you should be able to see the difference in the yield across the field from part to part. Oh, this field just annoys me. It's a really bad crop of grass, to be honest. It's just so inconsistent. So you've got like really good yield here, which I am very happy with. And then you travel 10 meters further and there's next to nothing. You see how yellow my row is? But what can I do? My very late lunch has just arrived and I'm almost out of memory on this SD card. So I am going to wrap this part of the video up here. My plan is to go home late tonight, edit this, post it to YouTube for Wednesday, and then we will be back on Saturday with whatever happens tomorrow when I try and lift 125 acres in one day with my trailed harvester. So hope you enjoyed this. Thank you all for watching. If you did, give it a like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And the second part of this video will be on Saturday for you, but it will be recorded tomorrow for me. Thank you all for watching. See you soon.